Welcome back to the deep dive. Today, we're getting into something really fascinating, I think. It's about moving beyond just, well, knowing the English words and grammar.
Right, beyond the textbook stuff.
Exactly. We want to figure out how to really bring your English communication to life, make it sound, real.
Stick.
Yeah, authentic. And we're drawing on some amazing insights today from İngilizce Pusulam. This is an English teacher with, get this, 25 years of experience.
Wow, that's impressive.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
And their whole approach isn't just about teaching rules, it's about guiding learners, motivating them, building real confidence.
That holistic view is so important.
It really is, because you know the feeling, right? You might have a decent vocabulary, your grammar's okay, but your English still comes out sounding a bit robotic, flat.
Yeah, monotonous.
Yeah.
Lacking that spark.
Totally. And conversations can feel a bit disconnected, maybe even unengaging because of it. So İngilizce Pusulam asks, how do we inject that music, soul, and color into our English?
That's a beautiful way to put it. And it's a challenge, honestly, that so many learners face. It's really widespread.
You think so?
Oh, absolutely. People get so focused on the mechanics, like the dictionary definitions or verb tables.
The technical bits.
Exactly. And they forget about the artistry, the actual sound and feeling of the language, that music, soul, and color. That's the rhythm, the intonation, the emotion that turns words into a real connection.
So it's not just what you say.
It's how you say it. That's what we're really diving into today, how to make it feel natural, authentic, and really connect with whoever you're talking to.
Okay, that what versus how distinction feels really key. İngilizce Pusulam points out some common roadblocks, things that kind of trip us up.
Pitfalls.
Yeah, and one that really jumped out at me was this idea of the perfect accent obsession.
Oh, definitely. That's huge.
Right, this intense pressure to sound exactly like a native speaker, mimic everything perfectly.
Which native speaker, though? There's so many accents.
That's a great point. But the irony is, trying so hard can actually stifle your own natural voice, your emphasis. It kills your confidence.
It really can. You become self-conscious about every little sound.
I remember trying to learn another language, and I was so obsessed with sounding like a newsreader, I just sounded stiff and unnatural. What does İngilizce Pusulam say about that pressure?
Well, they stress that the real goal isn't perfect imitation. It's about clear, effective communication. Understandable communication.
Okay. Understandable, not identical.
Exactly. Your accent is part of you. The aim is to be understood clearly, not to erase your identity. When you force an accent that isn't natural for you, you often end up sounding less natural.
Because you're thinking too much about the sounds.
Yeah, you're prioritizing the phonetics over the flow, the emotion, the actual message. It becomes a barrier, weirdly enough.
Yeah.
It distracts from that soul you're trying to convey.
That makes a lot of sense. And it connects to another point they make, doesn't it? The over-focus on just grammar and vocabulary.
Yes. Treating English like a math problem.
Right. Like if I just get the tense right and the preposition right, I'm good.
But your brain is so busy doing those calculations.
That you totally miss the language's feel, the melody.
Precisely. You miss the natural ups and downs in pitch, the pauses, the rhythm, all the stuff that carries meaning beyond the literal words.
And that's what leads to what İngilizce Pusulam calls the monotonous speaking habit. They even call it a virus.
It is. It really drains the listener's interest. Imagine music where every note is played exactly the same way.
Ugh, tedious.
Incredibly tedious. Human speech needs dynamics, ups and downs, rhythm shifts. Without them, the listener's brain just kind of checks out. There's no emotional hook.
And a big reason for this, they point out, is thinking in your native language and then sort of directly translating in your head.
Yes, that thinking in Turkish, speaking in English idea, but it applies to any language pair, really. Trying to map one language's structure directly onto another.
Okay, explain that a bit more. How does that affect the music?
Well, take word stress, for example. İngilizce Pusulam uses Turkish as a case study, where stress often falls at the end of a word.
Right.
But in English, stress can be anywhere, beginning, middle, end. And it changes the meaning completely sometimes. It's not just a tiny detail. It fundamentally changes how the word functions and sounds.
It makes it sound foreign or just slightly off.
It can, yeah. It disrupts the natural rhythm the listener expects. Let's use their example. Let me present this to you. Stress on the second syllable.
Okay, meaning to offer.
Right. Versus, this is a great PRE scent. Stress on the first syllable.
Meaning a gift. Same spelling, totally different sound and meaning.
Exactly. If you use the wrong stress pattern, maybe based on your native language habits, your communication gets harder to follow. or at least it takes more effort for the listener.
So it's not that the learner's doing something wrong fundamentally.
No, it's the approach that needs adjusting. That's the key message here.
Okay, so that's the problem, these roadblocks. But the good news is, İngilizce Puzzle gives us a way forward, a kind of compass.
A compass, exactly. 4 core principles distilled from those 25 years of experience. These are designed to help us find that music, soul, and color.
All right, let's get into it. What's the first direction on this compass?
Principle number 1, practice is greater than theory. It sounds simple, but it's crucial.
Okay.
As they say, books give you the roadmap, but you have to drive the car. You can't learn to drive by just reading the manual.
Makes sense.
You can read about intonation, stress, rhythm all day long. But unless you actually speak, applying those ideas, the knowledge just stays theoretical. It doesn't become part of your active skill set.
So less passive learning, more active doing.
Exactly. Speaking is a physical skill, like playing an instrument or a sport. Your mouth, your vocal cords, they need to work out. Daily practice, even short bursts, is key. You have to do it.
Right, you have to actually make the sounds, which flows nicely into the second principle, doesn't it? Regularity.
Yes, perfectly. İngilizce Puzzle tells this story about a student cramming for 8 hours on a Saturday.
Yeah.
And then basically not speaking English all week. And they were frustrated by their lack of progress.
Yeah, that sounds familiar.
And the advice is, English is not a marathon you run once a month. It's like a daily 15-minute health walk.
Yeah.
Consistent, smaller efforts beat infrequent, massive ones.
So little and often is better than big and rare.
Much better, especially for developing things like tone and rhythm. It's about building habits, muscle memory almost, like watering a plant small amounts regularly, not one big flood.
I like that analogy. Okay, so practice theory and regularity. What's the third principle?
Gradual development.
Hmm?
This one is really powerful. You have to step slightly outside your comfort zone to grow.
Like at the gym.
Exactly like the gym. If you only ever lift the weights you find easy, you won't get stronger. Same with language. If you only use the simple sentences you know perfectly,
Your range stays limited.
your emotional and tonal range stays limited too. You need to push yourself, just a little. Try expressing more complex feelings, maybe humor, maybe frustration, maybe excitement,
Even if it feels a bit awkward at first.
especially if it feels awkward. That awkwardness is the sign you're stretching yourself. That's where the growth happens. Trying that slightly harder sentence, that new emotional tone, that's how you develop variety and color.
Okay, embrace the discomfort.
Mm.
Just a little bit.
A little bit. It's about expanding your expressive toolkit, not just your vocabulary list. Getting comfortable with being slightly imperfect as you try new things.
Right. And the fourth principle ties this all together, I think. Personalization and error analysis.
Yes. This is about becoming your own coach, in a
Mhm.
way. İngilizce Puzzle says something really profound. Your mistakes are your best teachers,
Okay.
but only if you learn to listen to them.
Ah.
Hmm.
So noticing when something sounds off.
Exactly. If you say something and it just sounds weird to your own ear, that's not failure. That's data.
Hmm.
Why did it sound odd? Was the stress wrong? Was the intonation flat?
And how do you analyze that effectively?
They strongly recommend recording yourself.
Oh, the dreaded voice recording.
Yeah, nobody loves it initially, but it's like an x-ray for your speech. It shows you exactly where the patterns are maybe not quite right.
So you can pinpoint issues. Like, oh, I stressed the wrong syllable there.
Precisely. Like realizing the difference between record the noun and record the verb by hearing yourself say it wrong. Once you hear it and understand why it was wrong, you're much less likely to repeat it. It builds self-awareness.
That internal feedback loop. Okay, these four principles, practice theory, regularity, gradual development, and personalization and error analysis, they really do feel like a compass.
They guide you beyond just collecting words, towards actually internalizing the music of English, making it authentic, engaging, and, well, more you.
So let's make this super practical. What can someone listening right now do today using this compass?
Okay, actionable steps. First one, listen and notice. Active listening.
How did that work?
Try watching an English show or movie you like, maybe without subtitles at first. But don't just follow the story. Be a sound detective. Notice how the voices change. When someone's surprised, what happens to their pitch? Which words get emphasized when they're angry or sarcastic? How does a question sound different from a statement?
Focusing on the music, not just the words.
Exactly. Podcasts are great for this too. Listen to the rhythm, the pauses, the emphasis. Tune your ear to those nuances native speakers use without thinking.
Right, training your ear first. That makes sense. What's next?
Once you start noticing more, The next step is imitate and record. And İngiliz Pusalam specifically suggests shadowing.
Shadowing. Tell me more.
You take a short audio clip, like 15, 20 seconds maybe, from a podcast or audiobook with a speaker you like, and you try to speak along with them, imitating their tone, speed, and emphasis as closely as possible, maybe just half a second behind them.
Wow, that sounds challenging.
It is. It feels weird at first, definitely, but it's an incredible workout for your mouth and your ear, helping you absorb those natural English rhythms directly.
Okay, shadowing. And the recording part.
That's where the personalization and error analysis really comes alive. Record yourself doing the shadowing, or just record yourself reading a short paragraph.
And then brace yourself to listen back.
Haha, yes. But listen with purpose. Try reading that paragraph with different emotions. Read it happily, then angrily, then maybe curiously.
Oh, interesting. To practice different tones.
Yeah, exactly. And when you listen back, don't just cringe. Be analytical. Where did it sound flat? Where could you add more emphasis? Where should the pitch go up or down? You're giving yourself specific feedback. Okay, next time, I need to stress that word more.
That intentional self-correction, that feels like where the real progress could happen.
That's the magic, yes. That self-awareness loop.
But listening to yourself is one thing. İngiliz Pusalam does mention that sometimes our own ears can miss things, right? That we might need an outside perspective.
Absolutely. Self-assessment is vital, but it has limits. We often can't hear our own ingrained habits. That's where professional guidance, that external mirror, becomes really valuable, especially for refining things like intonation or pushing you appropriately.
For that gradual development push.
Precisely. And finding the right kind of support is key. It needs to align with these principles we've been talking about.
So not just any tutor.
Well, İngilizce Pusalam points to a model like Konuşarak Öğren as being particularly effective because its structure seems to embody these principles quite well.
Okay, how so? How does it connect?
Well, think about practice and regularity. Having scheduled one-on-one calls with native speakers forces that consistency.
Right, you have an appointment. Harder to skip.
Exactly. It builds the habit. Then for gradual development, it's not just random chat. They use structured materials suited to your level, and the instructors are trained to gently push you.
To try those slightly harder things.
Yeah, to encourage you to express more complex ideas or use different tones, ensuring you're always stretching a bit, always growing.
Okay, that makes sense. And what about the personalization and error analysis part? How does that work in their system?
That seems to be a core strength. You have dedicated instructors, mentors, tracking your progress. They give immediate feedback, not just that grammar is wrong, but specifically on pronunciation, word stress, intonation.
The music element.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They could explain why one way sounds more natural or carries a different emotional weight. So you get personalized corrections and guidance targeted at making your speech not just correct, but authentic and expressive.
So it really aims for that holistic development, grammar, vocabulary, and the soul and color.
That seems to be the goal, yes. Creating an environment where you can really work on infusing your English with life, with your own personality shining through.
That sounds incredibly valuable, moving beyond just accuracy to real fluency and expressiveness.
It's a comprehensive approach.
So as we kind of wrap this up, the big takeaway from İngiliz Pusalam seems to be this isn't magic, right? Adding soul to your English isn't some talent you're born with.
Not at all. It's a skill, like any other skill.
Yeah. Developed through awareness, like the listening we talked about.
Yep. And techniques like shadowing and practicing different tones.
And most importantly, consistent, deliberate practice.
Absolutely. Regular effort.
So it's really time to let go of those excuses, maybe. The ones about, oh, my accent isn't right, or I'm too shy to try.
Please do. Your accent is fine. The goal is connection, being understood, expressing yourself clearly and effectively.
So the challenge then is take one small step.
Just one. Today. Maybe it's listening actively to a 2-minute clip and just noticing the emphasis. Maybe it is recording, hello, my name is, and trying to say it with warmth, then maybe with curiosity.
Something small but concrete.
Start small, but please, start today. Break the inertia.
Because, as İngiliz Pusalam says so beautifully at the end, this is your journey, and the compass is now in your hands. All you have to do is take the first step.
Powerful thought.
It really is. So the question for you listening is, what's your first step going to be? What tiny action will you take today to start adding more music, soul, and color to your English? That's something to think about.